Let's get stuck into things. Where are we at? 5 to 11 on the 3rd of December. So ticking into the month now. Obviously, sort of month actual sort of month sort of started over the weekend. So yesterday was really more first day of the month, and we saw a pretty sharp sort of quick little sell off on metals yesterday morning, but the recovery came right back up to its entry level or opening level, which so it's always going to find a little bit of resistance at that. Same with every sort of candle. It doesn't matter if it's a monthly, weekly, whatever. But certainly, sort of like when things just open and run in one direction, you can almost sort of see that sort of as a magnet to come in, put in a top wick, so to speak. And in this case here, DXY hasn't actually got a bottom wick on its weekly slash monthly candle. Um, and metals rejected back there a little bit, and then obviously sort of opening up at the moment. It's early days and sort of moving back towards that. But I'll get onto the metals in the moment. So we'll start off with DXY because look, over the weekend, the review and the idea was that we may have sort of seen, well, I was thinking that we may have seen a little bit of weakness before a push up onto DXY. Was that other chart that we had going on here? So this is what I was looking for. I was looking for a little bit of weakness before we had this little push up here. But, obviously opened up and just, as I said a moment ago, just ran. So it's in an interesting sort of little area at the moment. So there's a couple of things that I'm sort of noticing. One, obviously we've got, the move up yesterday, no bottom wick. So that could be a magnet to at least see a bottom wick put in there, which, again, same like I mentioned a second ago with metals, will provide, in this case, a little bit of support as that bottom wick comes in and then moves back up if it does get down here. Looking on the, let's get rid of this one because we don't use this one. So yeah, it could act as a magnet down here. If it does get down here, expect a little bit of a push. What I did sort of start to see last night though, let's get this one out of here, is potentially this head and shoulders setting up. And yes, it's a bit of a crooked neckline with it all, but that's all right. The idea is still the same. You got to drive, you got to pull back, you got to high into the middle, you got to pull back around the same area of this sort of neckline, and then you've got that right shoulder coming in with a horizontal where we kind of expected it. This is also the underside test of this channel through here. Though if we zoom out, actually go onto a higher time frame here, I have seen sort of this kind of line being drawn a bit more as well, which would give us a little bit more of an idea of why we got that bounce off this area here. So obviously I wasn't factoring in this, and I still think that this potential line here is in play because as you can see, as we pushed up here, this is where it found resistance as well. So underside of that channel. So I'm not ready to sort of fully delete that, but you can see an idea as to sort of that this, I don't really see how this could have been a channel. Not so much of a channel, just a rising support. Mainly just something we can use as sort of like possibly a little bit of a line that as it breaks, we could sort of trade off in that. But yeah, so it gives a little bit of credence to the idea, sort of justification for sort of why we saw that little bounce up there. It'll be important to sort of see how today goes. As we can say, this is on the daily. We can see yesterday fairly solid, closed quite bullish for the day, but no bottom wick. So we'll sort of see how things move along with this. So we did have ISM numbers overnight, which, if we flick across quickly, so if I refresh this one here, were quite strong. Well, yeah, they beat expectation. It's always funny when these sort of numbers come out because they're in a bit of a no man's land because 50 is the baseline. So if you want above 50 because that's sort of, expansion, and below 50 contraction, but it's kind of like a company sort of reporting earnings and they were supposed to be sort of like better, but they're like not as bad as you thought they would have been, kind of thing, if that makes sense. So like, the market presumably, is sort of pricing itself correctly. So it's pricing itself for 48.8, it's pricing itself for 47.7, despite how, that's actually a sort of negative number, because of course you want to see positive growth, you want to see it sort of, above 50. But it did beat those levels that it was pricing it for. So I think even though it's sort of like, best of a bad situation kind of thing, it is still regarded as positive because, we assume that the market's sort of pricing things correctly. Doesn't mean it is, but that's the assumption, and that's why you see, markets move quite quickly when things are massively in or out, well, massively out actually, of expectations. So, the fact that this came in below 50 but beat expectations should be a positive, should be a strength for US dollar. And if we get down onto a lower time frame, we can see that this is the data came out, and yes, it did, it popped because I mean that's the textbook response to slightly better data, and obviously it sort of front ran it a little bit as well because just before that data came out, it actually started to move up. But and this is what I was saying yesterday, and I sort of titled yesterday's video of that this is what I'm looking for at the moment. These kind of moves where we're seeing, just whatever, data justification there is for market to be moving up and the market sells into it. Because, I mean, look, as I said, it's mixed bag data. So it's not like, okay, above 50. If it had been above 50, I do believe it would have just continued and run. But the fact that sort of it was slightly positive, yet the market didn't take that as a excuse to go, okay, let's go a little bit higher. Let's hold on to this and let's push back up and continue its run back up over here. I mean, we got a lot of data coming out this week. We got ADP, which I'm not a big sort of fan as a market mover, but it is there. But NFP at the end of the week, that's the big one that we're sort of looking for. But point being with this at the moment is positive data, market sold into it. So I'm looking for what happens down here. Let's put an alert on it. Technically monthly as well, but let's just call it weekly. That's what we can work for now. If we get that alert down there, as I said, if we do get down here, I expect a bit of a move back up. See if this area here, which we can see sort of obviously marked out a few times, this has been the sort of an area in which it's obviously been support. It was resistance back here. This was the big break yesterday. Like I was actually talking to a mate as we were here, and I'm like, look, if this goes through this part here, I think it was here. Actually, maybe it was this level up here. I don't know, whichever, whatever. Point being, as I said, look, if we go through here, I think that's set the course for the day. I think actually it was here because it's obviously tried to fail down, tried to fail, and it's turned this area, this grey band through here, into a support. So you want to see, if you're a sort of dollar bull, that the buyers are still keen at this level. If the buyers give up this level, then you can pretty much expect a quick move, or maybe not quick, but you can expect a move down here to see that bottom wick for the week come in. So I think that'll be important to watch down here. And, this is why I'll be watching, gold and silver and Aussie and these kind of things to see if they can recover a little bit based off this move. Alternatively, it takes out yesterday's highs, which is also a little bit of a horizontal through here. This other one, maybe we see better on the 4 hour. Excuse me. Sort of the completion of this big drop down here. We can see a little bit of resistance through these areas over here, and that negates the idea. Well, it doesn't fully negate, but you'd could be going up for something like this perhaps. So just bear with us one sec. Yep. So I think sort of particularly if we look at this 4 hour, pretty overbought, sold into that. It is holding through here, so there will be some little sort of effort to sort of hold it up around this zone. But certainly, I think if we take out those wicks from this big move through here, that's where I'll be looking for. I mean, look, it's a 12 down to 20, 30 point move, down 25 point move or so down to the bottom side over here, just to put in that bottom wick and then sort of see what happens through there. But at the moment, it does look like it's kind of setting up for a little bit of a head and shoulders through this area with a retest at the underside of this channel. So I think that'll be an interesting area to sort of see what the market decides to do through there. Okay, and so let's tick along. Let's have a look at Aussie. Aussie got absolutely smacked yesterday. Look, it was trying to hold this 90 level. If we get down on the lower time frame, you can see how much of an effort it tried to put in to hold this zone time and time and time and time again, even through the weekend, little push up here, and obviously, look, it's a very clear cut line. This is the 4 hour support. Once it got under it, bang, it just absolutely just one direction just came through down through here. You know what I mean? It really sort of got battered quite hard. So look, Aussie still doing what it's doing. It is starting. This is why we had that little price target up here because I was sure we were going to get a reaction here. Very frustrating with this because as you can see, this comes to 27. You know, I was trying to look for sort of about 34, so 7, 8 points off this move just to be unwound is quite frustrating. But it did find support where it needed to find it, as we can see, just down this lower area over here. So again, buyers, they've got another shot, they've taken it, they've bounced it back up. Let's see what happens with DXY today. But I would say that this is probably the area that we're really looking at for Aussie through here. I'll do this. That's the big sort of area I think we're kind of looking for Aussie. You know, below this level down here, well, we know what's happening and it's going to come down. We've got a couple of levels of support through here, so the downside might be limited, but we do know Aussie does like to do fake out. So even if it does come down here, clears out a couple of these sort of earlier long positions, drags in some shorts, and then can sort of move back up. Alternatively, it's coming through this falling resistance over here, which was sort of pretty much seen from the highs. Now, even though this was a couple of points off, I'm still calling that pretty much a confirmation of that line through there. So look, even if it does get above here, really, again, it's at the mercy. It's a bunch of things sort of lining up along at the same time, but that's kind of still what you're dealing with through here. So you're going to call this the breakout box. So even if you do happen to get through this sort of triangle, you've still got resistance here at 35, taking out the wicks up to 55 to be a little bit safer. I still think that this is the plausible trade. But of course, you got to get through these levels first. If you go down this direction, well, bang, it's not happening. But I think sort of, once you can clear this little box through here, I'd probably just that. I think that's probably an area in which we could start to sort of say, okay, look, midterm recovery in that. If we look at last year, DXY did sort of get a settle off through December a little bit. Aussie tends to do quite well through December. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again this year, but it does mean that there's a possible chance that we do see a little bit of a run up through these areas. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this. Too many shades over this stuff. You can't see the chart. Anyway, the point's still the same there. So that's the area we want to get above. Leave this one on. That's the area that you really want to see come out the top side of, and if you do, you're going to see potentially, not even, I mean, this is almost like a triple bottom now. And these spikes back up here. If this dribbles down, if we get a close down around this level over here today, I would say that's it, and it's going to dribble down and it's going to break through those lows down there. We are still seeing, the buying pressures is pushing up over here, but these only work if you actually get it to react and move up here. If we find this scrapes up into the overbought area and it's still sitting down here, most likely you're just feeding that to then sort of come down and this will run down with it. So you want to kind of see some sort of positive reaction, probably I would say today at least, back up above 65 to sort of see if we're going to actually sort of see some sort of recovery effort with Aussie. But certainly at the moment, not looking great, to be honest. And it does sort of look like, it is, look, it's holding this area. But that break yesterday and the inability to get above 65, obviously people just said, nah, look, that's enough for us and let's just give it up. And we saw that little push down through there. So eyes on the metals and that to sort of see if they can sort of help things along, see what happens with DXY. If we do see that sell off on US dollar, that's a good idea and reason that we could see Aussie at least test back up above 65 again. Above 65, well, we're really coming into that tight zone through there, but I'd say we're probably going to get a break probably this week to sort of see what happens with Aussie in the short term. All right, so let's just have a quick look around. If we chuck it onto the lower time frame, we can see that it had a bit of a bounce up through here. This is a funny time of the day. You can't really sort of call too much of it. Most likely, structurally though, you would be looking for at least a push down here. Up, support, up, resistance, previous areas of support. This is now the 4-hour resistance. You'd expect this leg here, but you want to see where this leg bounces. If this leg bounces, then you could potentially be seeing this. If this comes down to the bottom like this is still plausible. Otherwise, you get a rollover and bang, and this is it, and this will start to sort of come into this direction here. But I think sort of like, as I said, I think DXY may be seeing a little bit of short-term cooling. So let's just put a little ledge in here. Zone. And I think this is the area that you really want to see what happens with it. You want to take out that wick from last night. Not even just, I suppose, look, depends how you go with this one. You can jump on it a little bit early. I think if you can get a break and hold, like a close of an hourly, above 80, you might be back in it, because 80's been quite a sort of a decent area, as we can see a number of times. It's been resistance, 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 point or two. It's been support, it's been supported, support, support, support. So this is a pivotal area, in my opinion, to get above this 80 level on Aussie. If it can get above 80, then I think we could see a bit more recovery back up to over 65. Alternatively, you break back below, say, 65, 64, 65 that is. I think you retest the lows of overnight around that 46 area. Okay, so flip across, we've got gold, and gold is a very frustrating trade at the moment, but these dips are being bought every single time. But one interesting thing is this isn't a super support through here, but as you can see, it is somewhat of a support that's set up. Chop through it, test the underside. We actually had a line through here. I think I took this one off, but was trading this one last week as well. If we have a look here, support, 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 broke through it, test the underside, test the underside. Sets up a new one, breaks through it, test the underside. So it does look like it's kind of fanning over down like this, but as you can see, each time it is buying up those dips. Really back above 64. This is the area I was trading on sort of Friday, saying, look, it's 60 is the key level. That's where it's got to hold. And I was like, do, and bang, as yesterday started, it just went crunch straight down. But back into an area. We've seen this and marked it out that it's been quite sort of vital for the buyers previously. So they've stepped in there again. But really, it's just washy. Let's put that up and that like that. That's the kind of zone you need, because you want to take out these ones. It's all very well to get back up and retest this area, but you can see that sellers obviously drove it down from there. So there's a chance they drive it down from here again. So you want to get a move and close out to the top side here. You get a close out to the top side here, well, you could see a bit of a push up and a test of this falling resistance that we're kind of setting up over here. So I think, above 67s where you're a little bit safer, which is a 20-buck move through here. And then you're probably looking up around that sort of 26.90 level. This little horizontal through here, and probably at the same time around this little zone over here. So something like this. I know a lot of people are sort of discrediting gold, and understandably with these massive sell downs. But as I said, it's not something that we haven't seen before with gold. I mean, these kind of massive swing areas, remember, as I keep referencing this area through here, you can't see through all the moves, but look, if you take this off, this kind of stuff through here just wipes the book of everybody and then sort of moves forward. And everybody was discrediting myself here, discrediting it if it broke underneath here. Didn't do it, and on it went. So look, there is, I think it's not really a position at the moment you can say it's going one way or the other. We saw this as a big congestion area previously, proving to be a lot now. You got a big sell down, big recovery, smaller sell down, little tiny recoveries. It's really just in this box through here, and this is why I think sort of outside this box, is going to show us the next direction for gold. And if we pop it onto, where's that other chart? The double head and shoulders. So I think, yeah, as I said, it's very much very wonky looking right shoulder through here. I don't know where you want to put that one, whatever. But yeah, whether it's the right shoulder moving down or the right shoulder moving up, it's just in the middle, no man's land. So still awaiting a little bit of direction for this one sort of moving forward. Silver, nice recovery again on silver. 31.50 is where I'm sort of targeting in the medium term. So I do think we do have some upside with silver coming. As you can see, the sell down had a very strong recovery. This is what I was referencing when I was sort of saying that, look, you know, it puts in a weekly open. Look, where's the... This is on the weekly. Whoop. Whatever. Straight sell down yesterday, bounced straight back up, put in the little top candle, and this happens on every time frame, so it's not just on this, but you know, this is how you can use these things with all time frames and make it applicable. That sold down, no top wick, came up here, put in the top wick. It's always going to act like a little bit of a resistance. It did. It sold down only marginally, a couple of bucks or so, but it did. Sold down, and now we're sort of seeing that if it's going to, if we get back onto a lower time frame now, is this going to, there's the sell down, and is it going to push back up here again? And as I said, if it goes through these levels through here, we can see that this is a bit of a crucial level. Poked its head over there on Friday, smashed back down as soon as you know, market opened yesterday, back up testing it again. So I think a break above this level here, look, call it a close above 30.70. I'm going to put an alert on that. So close above 30.70. A close up around there, I think, is a good chance. I mean, obviously, you've got to take out that wicket. What is it, 88 or so? Call it 90 over from Friday. But it's definitely got the RSI support. This is a 4 hour. It's got the momentum to carry it to push back up to the top side of this range. And I've mentioned it a few times, you know, the moves that are potentially happening with silver if it does get up to this level over here. I do expect there to be a bit of a pushback, but if we can get a move up to past here, that's the area, and that's the way forward. A pushback here expected with this top area. We can see the market love to sell, love to sell. There's a lot riding on it at this level here, but a break through this level gives a price target back up around that sort of 33 level, which of course, you know, we'll see most things move in line with this as well. We'll see gold certainly move in line with this as well, to the top side if silver is running like this. Just on that, actually, I'll sort of flip across. This is why I've been sort of particularly still sort of bullish on metals, because we had this fake breakout last week. And as we know, a fake breakout is as good as a breakout. So what's happened here is we've gone out the outside, tested the underside of this little support through here. Fake breakout pushes back in. Okay, that's fine. You need to get out the bottom to really use this, to utilize it, to really hammer down. What's happened is it's come back into its range. Yesterday, it's pushed back up, tested, and it's found sellers where we found sellers prior to that breakout. So it's not out of the woods yet, one way or the other. But at the moment, what we're seeing is that it's sort of, you know, sellers were here. It's come up, and sellers have been in there again. If this breaks 59, I told you I've got some sort of form dyslexia. 59, 85, 90. I'll put this alert down here. So we're going to say confirming fake breakout top side. A break out of this area here not only just sort of confirms that sellers, came in here and there's a fake breakout, sellers are here, buyers not here. So that's the thing. You can see that this is obviously a support area, as a resistance area through here. It's turned into a support area. We know that this is a vital area, and this is what you want to see, what the sellers are going to do when it comes down to test here. If they break underneath here, if they're not visible there as sort of like trying to hold up the ratio, well, you're probably going to see this drive a little bit further down here, and this is going to be a fake breakout, and we're going to see a move back down to, these lower levels over here around the 83.50 to 84 kind of level. Just have a quick look at how this looks on dailies. Yeah, look, the daily would kind of support that as well. You can see this is obviously a sort of a daily support, daily resistance. It's obviously tried to hold up the top side over here. If we do see a continuation push down through here, it's not saying it will, it could still move up through here because it's just come back into this range. First test, sellers have gone, yep, that's right, we want to push it and continue it. But you want to see that continued pressure pushing it down here. And if we do, then, these are the kind of levels that we're going to be sort of targeting through here for the next level where they may sort of step in there again. And if we do see this pushing down this direction through here, well, that's going to be sort of positive for metals, and particularly silver, because remember, this is the gold-silver ratio. So as this is moving down, metals generally appreciate. As they are moving down, silver will outpace gold. So silver would definitely be where you'd probably be wanting to put your money. So that's just one to watch as well with silver. Okay, moving back over there. Let's have a little look on a lower time frame. I've pretty much covered it. 4 hours was probably where you want to be sort of seeing this thing, but you can see it's sort of moving up here a little bit at the moment. Work to be done, bit of congestion up around here on Friday, and obviously smacked it down, but the markets just said, yep, let's buy it. So as long as they can keep this little push moving up through here, I think this is a good chance to sort of pop. And there we've got our clear cut levels where we want to beat to sort of see here. Let's just put another alert there. Because all right, cool. And we flip across. We've got copper. Yeah, look, what can you say? I told you I nicknamed this the Heartbreaker because that's all it is. You sit along here and you're like, oh, is this going? Is it going? Nah, it's just grinding at the moment. Look, it does tend to sort of, before it does a breakout, it does do a lot of back and forth. Probably not as tight as I can actually see this more recently. Obviously, sort of, I was looking for this sort of swing way back there. That's fine. Main thing is that it holds this area through here at the moment. I think this is the area that you really need to see it stay inside or above. If this comes and closes out the bottom here, particularly if you take out yesterday's wick, is that yesterday or Fridays? Fridays, yesterday's wick as a sold down here. Obviously, market pushed it straight back up in there. If you see the buyers say, look, nah, that's not enough for us, and that close down here, then you're going to see a bit of a move down over there. But for the time being, really, it's just grind city. Possibly see a little bit of a tick up here, but I think any sort of move up to 420 may even sort of be sold down. Realistically, the bigger picture, I think, is what's at play here, and that's a big triangle coming through here. So as I said yesterday, I think just really sort of consolidation is what we're going to be sort of seeing through the next couple of weeks, month or so. Any move up over to sort of 430s, I imagine that'll be a bit of a sell down. You can see that this is obviously a pretty important area for it through that little range. If it does get up over here, I don't see any early breakouts. Copper does like to really utilize this, so I imagine up until here, we're going to be sort of seeing some strong consolidation, put it that way. China finally broke out yesterday, holding out the top, looking like it wants to squeeze up a little bit higher. This is a good example of fake breakout. You could call this pretty much a nice little defined range, which I obviously put in. I think that was on the weekend or maybe even last week. We got the close down underneath here. Obviously, not enough. Market fired it back up. And this is what I'm saying. Sort of a fake, a sort of a failed breakout is as good as a breakout just in the other direction. And obviously, it looked like it was coming down here, dragging some shorts, and bang, they squeeze it and rocket up the other side. We are coming into some sort of pretty well-known sort of sell areas around here, so I do think if any more of a bit of a push up here could be capped a little bit more. I did see an interesting thing with the fixing the other day, which I didn't realize, which then I sort of actually thought about afterwards. I was like, oh, it's actually not that important. But they put the fixing, they have been sort of putting it a bit lower, as we've seen. But, whoops, this isn't today's one. That's, I think, yesterday's one anyway. But point being is it's got a 2% band move per session. So it's not super. If we put that, where's that 2% thing? Yeah. So it's not super exciting because if you trade or even follow the one, a lot of the time it does a lot of this grind, 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 grind. I mean, there was a period. Where was it? Back over here. This period here. This is like 1%. Yeah, so that's 1%, and that was 3 months. That it was in that little sort of reserve. So saying, okay, yeah, it's got a max move of 2%. Well, this is why I put this in here just to sort of see what that actually looked like. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, 2% is still massive anyway, compared to how it moves. I mean, 2% on a currency is huge anyway, but yeah, it's still. But the idea is the lower you put the fixing, the higher the lower the top end move is. So the fixing won't come from where it opens or where the price currently is. They'll say, okay, the fixing is down here, whatever, just pick an arbitrary place. Well, that then limits it to the top side there. So now all of a sudden, really, what you're looking at is more of a 6.7% move, not the 2%. The 2% is the band that it can do. So as long as they keep putting that fixing down the low over here, it means they're kind of retarding the top side that it can actually sort of pretty much move through. But yeah, look, anyway, that was just an interesting little thing. This move, unbelievable, unbelievable. These V-shaped recoveries, we had the same sort of thing down here, sold down here, and then boom, sort of crushed down. So yeah, it'd be interesting to sort of see where it goes from here. But we are coming up into some pretty well-known sort of resistance areas. So be surprised if this breaks out first go. Meaning basically, if we do get a little bit of a push higher here, excuse me, I imagine that to be sold into. If that is sold into, I guess we just got to see what happens there. But maybe a retest of these levels that provided a bit of resistance previously. And we obviously have the marked out from back here as well. So yeah, very much just charging through here. In terms of where we might see anything for the downside, look, that's yeah, it's just a very odd price action thing to trade. As you can see, up, down, and it's just grinded sideways through here. I mean, even if you look at this area through here, and that's only 0.6%. If you sort of look at it from over here to over here, yeah, it's a very tight trading, stable, I guess, currency pair till it moves. All right, so I think that's it for the charts. We'll flick across, see what we've got going on news-wise. That was an ISM. Oh, got a bit of data coming out. A bit of Aussie, nothing major there. We got. This is one thing actually I did notice this morning. Go through here. A couple of Fed comments. So we had some Fed speakers, which to me sort of came across, if we can find him, this guy here. So no signs of recession detected. So that's a bit more dovish. Expected more data before the meeting, whatever. Avoid excessive restrictions to allow for economic growth. So restrictions, obviously, higher rates. So that's more dovish. Yeah, nothing is still restrictive. So they're not saying that it's loose by any means, and that. So obviously it's got further to go. And then where we got return to 2%. So all in all, look, no signs of a US recession. All in all, I would say this is probably looking a little bit more on the dovish sort of side of things. So just something to that I sort of noticed from the early hours of this morning. So we'll see how things go. We've got Aussie selling down a little bit. How'd that data just come out anyway? Oh no, it's still pending here. Okay, kind of weak for the Aussie there. So, and yeah, I mean, I think that sold down a second before that happened anyway. So let's just see what happens with DXY through this session, I reckon. All right, that's it from me.